Hello, everyone. My name is Oluwatosin. My name is Oluwatosin Anishere. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. Also an MVP for Azure. I'm one of the leaders of Nigeria Azure community, host for this event. So we started our Azure Study series, treating AZ305. We have done the first class, and now we're in second class, designing compute solutions. So we have a speaker here, is someone you're familiar with, is also a leader in the Azure community. Is an enthusiast, Microsoft enthusiast, is a Microsoft certified trainer as well, and he will be taking us through this second class, or should I say, second module of designing a complete solution. So I have here with me um, Mr. Raphael Momo, who will introduce himself better to us and get the class started. Welcome.
Yes, no,
Welcome,
thank you,
Raphael.
Sophie. Thank you. You said more than enough. Guys, I'm so excited that we're having this session again because the good thing about it is cloud, cloud, cloud. Guys, to be honest with you, you've seen what ChatGPT is doing. I tell you that in the next few years, you will not be able to do anything. If you want to do big stuff, okay, and save money, okay, because the recent news you're hearing about layoffs, because the companies want to save money. So this trend is going to continue. It's going to go on. So if you want to do big stuff about helping companies and organizations to save money, okay, you might want to pay close attention to everything that we'll be talking about. And the good thing about AZ305 from the beginning of how we started last week and what we have in front of us today, it's not daunting at all. It's not difficult, okay? It's just building on everything that you know from your AZ900, okay? So you compute, network, storage, and everything, okay? That's what this is building on. So I'm just going to continue and so that we can dive right in and start seeing the maggies and the salts, of what would make your cloud muscles to increase. Okay, so first slide. This is our main focus for today. We're going to be looking at designing what you consider when you're designing virtual machine, batch, and up to logic apps. Okay, so I'd like you to know that this module contains this module will account for 25 to 30% of what you'll be graded during your exam. I'll just go right in. Now, the very first thing you're going to look at, okay? So now remember what I told you about all these things that you see here on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side. The right-hand side, they've been introduced to you during your AZ900. Like, what is a virtual machine? So we're not going to be creating virtual machines here because it's easy to create a virtual machine, okay? You search for virtual machine. When the nearest suggestion, you click on it. Project details. For project details, you select the subscription and your resource group. Instance details, you add the image, add all that and all that. Then finally, your administrative account. We're not going to do that because it's in your AZ900. So now you can look at the screen very well. Okay, the very first line. The start, okay, so lift and shift or cloud optimized on this side, okay, and it's telling you that, okay, so are you migrating? Do you want to have full control? Do you want to have full control? Now that brings you back to another concept in your AZ900, okay, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service. So infrastructure as a service is that service that would help you gain control over your workload. So do you want to have full control? Yes, in that case, you use virtual machines. Okay, so look at it. Let me just go, because we have a lot of things before us today. So I'm not going to pick on all of them, but I'm just going to help you look at them critically. So the first one, do you want full control? That full control has to do with infrastructure as a service. So now, if you're still a little bit confused, I'd like you to go back and yeah, remember what your definition of infrastructure as a service is and what kind of control it gives to you. Okay, now this the second one. Do you want high performance computing? Do you have a high performance computing workload? In that case, the best option among all the services Microsoft has to offer, okay, is Batch, Azure Batch. Okay, do you want to use microservices? Okay, if you know, do you want to use a microservice architecture? There's an option for it. Okay. You want to use, you have web apps that you want to build. There's an option for it. Do you want to use, so all the options are here, and those are the things that we're going to be talking about one by one. Okay. So hopefully we should take a look at this diagram again after going through all the models, and it will make a lot of sense to you. Okay, so yes, so let's look at designing virtual machine solution, the things that you consider for. So the first thing you need to look at, okay, a virtual machine. When to know, yes, I know that you might have spun up virtual machines. Okay, the exercises, I don't know if you took your, yeah, if you've taken 204. So if you've spun up virtual machines, maybe you just spun it up. You're asking yourself, why did I even spin this up? You did not understand. You were able to spin it, but because of the exercises, you were able to spin it up. You were able to SSH. So this goes a little bit ahead of that. So why would you want to spin up a virtual machine? So if you want to quickly test, troubleshoot different configuration. Now, I'd like you to note that again, okay? You want to troubleshoot. What does that tell you? You have some level of control over that machine. That's why you are able to troubleshoot. Okay. Now you want to use a specific hardware such as high performance computing. Okay. Now that also gives you a lot of control because you can select the hardware you want to use. Okay. You can choose to use a Windows machine. You can choose to use you want to select. You want to select the hardware, the size, and everything, okay? Because you want to to suit your workload. Now you want to extend your on-premise data center because you do not want to purchase additional hardware. Okay, so if you've worked hands-on with these things, you understand this very well. So there will be times. Okay, let me give you an example that you will relate to it. Okay, an example that you relate to it that is local to us. Whether you like it or not, the Central Bank of Nigeria has mandated, you don't know this, but I, as an experienced professional, I probably know. So whether you like it or not, the Central Bank of Nigeria has mandated that the banks, okay, it's not everything that the banks would save in the cloud. Okay, so they will have their certain workloads that they must have because central bank has mandated it that they must have and save in their on-premise data center. So then if they save everything on their premise data center, it might be too expensive for them. There might be cheaper workload that they would need to save in the cloud. So at that particular point, they will need to extend whatever they have, and it will make more sense because they will not want to purchase anymore for them to use a virtual machine. Okay, so now you want to run legacy apps on modern hardware. So I've been involved in a project. Okay, so this app was made like in 1995 or 96. It still works. Okay, it still works, but they want to they're trying to move to the cloud. Okay, so how do they move their app to the cloud? Okay, without without having to re-architect or do anything. Okay, so probably they used I've forgotten but yeah, it was successfully moved to the cloud. Okay, and at that particular point, running that kind of migration, you would need a software. You need a modern hardware. Okay, so you need a virtual machine. So now you can, if you need, so I'm not going to read everything, but you understand all the things I've been saying so far. So the bottom line of it, guys, you want control over your computing environment, because the other ones The other ones, they do not give you that flexibility. Platform as a service just says, bring your code, okay? Do what you want to do. We'll provide the hardware. So, but this gives you a lot of control, okay? That's the bottom line of this one. So let's move ahead and see what else we have. So give me a minute. Okay, yeah, I'm back. Okay, so now plan the virtual machine deployment. Okay, so now these things should be familiar to you. Okay, so you need a network because your virtual machine, like the scenario I gave of that legacy app moving to the cloud, the app was made in the 90s. It still works. So and it still works, it still solves the problem. So you need to make sure that it's communicating with whatever infrastructure that you have on premise. So you need a network. Okay, that's the first thing you'll always want to get when planning a virtual machine deployment, because you cannot just put it in the cloud and it's not communicate. Now, let's take, for example, you are in this presentation with me because you have a network. Okay, we're communicating. So also your virtual machine actually has to start with the network, because it needs to communicate with the various components and with your stuff. There needs to be communication. Now, if you remember your deployment, okay, if you remember your deployment when you're creating a virtual machine normally, okay, so the first thing is your project details. Okay, your project details, then your instance details. In your instance details, the name will come in. You must add the name. Okay, that now at that point you must choose a location. Are you using US East? Are you hosting it? Where are you hosting it to? Now the thing about it is this. Okay, you cannot be serving customers in Nigeria, okay, and host your workload in Abracadabra, in Japan. Okay, the distance is too far, so you must decide a location that is closest to your customers. You know why? Because you don't want latency. You do not want to. I think I said this during the last presentation, but you do not want, assuming that it's a bank app, okay, you do not want someone to be checking his bank balance and spending 10 minutes trying to check his balance. Let me tell you what will happen if you do that. They're going to uninstall your app. They will uninstall your app and business is bad. Okay, so you want to decide a good location for your virtual machine, the location that is nearest to the location that is nearest to, yes, to the customers. Okay, now you also need to select a virtual machine storage. Okay, so now I told you about the legacy app that project that I worked on. So it was a I think file share. Okay, file share. For file sharing Azure storage, it's network then the type of storage you use matters. So you need to decide, okay, what kind of application am I moving to the cloud? So if you know the kind of application, you will decide the kind of storage that you want to use for it. Okay, so network is important. The name you want to give the function is important. The system. Are you going to use a Windows or Linux? Okay. Now, so the reason I told you that this is interesting, because it actually builds on your AZ900 and some of your other fundamental knowledge. So if you okay, am I okay? So I think I'm having network issues. Something went wrong. Okay, sorry. I think I had some little glitch network. Okay, so I don't know where you guys heard me up to, but I choose a location because you want to deploy a storage. Okay, I gave you an example. I gave you an app that was that was built using one. Okay, so
Apologies, everyone. I guess there's just a
hello, can
bit
you
of
hear me?
internet.
I'm so sorry for the
Yes, we
network
can hear
issues.
you. We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm so sorry. But my project that I worked on, okay, so in the 90s that is still working, but the owners want it. What kind of storage we use in Azure Storage? Because you need to choose with a place for you to store your application, okay? A storage for your app, okay? It only comes with an OS disk, an operating for your application. So for that particular to talk shares to move it to the cloud successfully. So you need to select your operating system. Or a Windows. Hello, Tosin, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. At the point you
So
voice was breaking.
you need to make sure that your virtual machine is up to.
Hello, Raphael.
Oh, so sorry, guys.
Maybe you should turn off your video. That way it can improve the quality of the call.
Can you hear me, Tosin?
Yes, I can hear you, and I'm sure others can hear you. Maybe you should turn off your camera such that it improves the quality of the call.
Hello, Tosin, can you hear me? Okay, so I'll just continue because I feel that you guys can hear me now. I don't have any network glitch anymore. So you need to decide the virtual machine family. So what kind of virtual machine are you creating? Is it a general purpose virtual machine? Is it compute optimized? Is it memory optimized? Is it storage optimized? Is it GPU optimized? Is it high performance computing? So you need to select one, okay? So because the truth about it is if you do not select the right type for your workload, you will waste money, okay? You will waste money, you will waste time, you will waste resources. So just assuming if your workload is memory optimized and you go and use compute optimized, you have some issues, okay? So
Hello, Raphael.
so that maybe we'll not have. Just give me 1 minute to make. Okay, let's continue. So you need to decide. Oh my God.
Hello.
The family of the virtual machine that you want to use. Computer optimized is designed for high CPU to memory ratio. Okay, it's suitable for, so if you have a web server,
Sorry,
you
we're
have
unable
batch
to see your
process, you have
screen.
application server.
Hello, Raphael. Sorry, we're unable to see your screen.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I said earlier that it's actually very important to choose the right kind of family of virtual machine. Okay, so are you using compute optimized when you're supposed to use memory optimized? Are you using storage optimized when you're supposed to use GPU? So you need to choose the right family of virtual machine. If not, you're going to waste money. Okay, so there's this company. I've forgotten the name of the company, but if you are in any of the groups that we belong to, like DevOps group, you might have seen that discussion. Okay, so the company decided that they live in the cloud. Okay, they live in the cloud because they're spending like $3 million every year on cloud spend. Okay, so then the argument with me and some of my other friends, okay, that have been in this space for a while, we came to the conclusion that probably they're making some mistakes somewhere. Okay, maybe they're not using the right not the right kind of machine for the right kind of work. Maybe they need to look at their code and see how to how to use probably maybe the kind of code they're using Rust. Maybe they need to use another kind of code that is less. So if they do all that, it would reduce all the issues and it will save them money. So you need to actually when you're building a virtual machine, you need to actually choose the right resource that suits your kind of workload. Okay, so that's actually very important. So you look at all this, and each one of them have their own kind of. So if, like I said earlier, if you're supposed to use high performance compute, and you go and choose compute optimized, you're gonna have some issues. Okay. So now let's move ahead and see what other so and I'm sure that you might have come across availability sets at one point or the other. No, virtual machine skill set. So what does a virtual machine skill set do for you? A virtual machine skill set would, okay, let me explain it this way. Assuming that you work no, let me go direct. Okay, so when I finished my university, the first place I worked was a games company. Okay, so games company, their biggest prayers, okay, is to either break into the US market because Americans play games more than any other person, or break into the Chinese market. The reason why they're praying to break into the Chinese market is because if only 2% of the population of Chinese people, okay, love your game, okay, you'll have over 1 million downloads. And if you have 1 million downloads, even if you do not monetize the game, okay, little line adverts, you'll make over $50,000 every day. Okay, I'm just telling you as an insider that I've worked in a games company before. So now, if you have a games company and China is accepting your game, this is what's going to happen to you. If you do not have more instance, okay, an instance is a computer where you host your application. So if you do not make available a lot of instances, your game will crash. Okay, so just imagine if your game crash, players are trying to access your game and they see that it's not available. What is
Hello, Raphael. I think we lost you there. Apologies, everyone. It seems our speaker is facing some network issue.
oh,
Uh,
can you still hear me?
okay, yes, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, so sorry guys. So I was trying to explain virtual machine skill set. Okay, so a virtual machine skill set will help you in case your traffic is too much. Okay, instead of just one machine, you hosting your application on one machine, your application will be available on multiple machines. Okay, then at that particular point, you need a load balancer. As the traffic is coming, it will be directing them to your application. Because the truth about it is, if Chinese, for example, love your application and you're only hosting it on just one machine, your application will crash. And if it crashes, do you know what the customers are going to do? They're going to write negative reviews about you. So once the negative reviews get to a certain number, do you know what is going to happen? That the app company is going to kick your company off the Play Store or the game store, and you do not want that to happen. So what the solution that Microsoft has for you is what they call virtual machine skill set. Now, so we're talking about availability of the virtual machine skill set. What is an availability zone? So I don't know if you last year, no, not last year, early last year or the upper year, MTN went off for 6 hours. Okay, if you go to YouTube and search Carl MTN CEO apologizes. So MTN went off for 6 hours. So I work remotely. So 6 hours is a lot. At that time, I didn't have multiple internet options. Okay, so 6 hours, MTN was nowhere to be found. Okay, so they got off totally. So if they had what they call stored their services in different availability zone, that would not have happened. So an availability zone is just like you having a backup generator. Okay, like currently as we speak, NEPA have taken the light, but I'm on solar. So if my solar was not there, okay, I have solar, I have generator, and I have NEPA. So I have made myself highly available. In case NEPA fails, there is solar. In case solar fails, there's generator. So that's what actually an high availability means. So if you want to configure high availability in Azure, especially for your virtual machine, one of the best options would be to keep them in availability zones. Okay, so I hope that the explanation is clear. We're gonna just move on to the next part of the lecture. Now, okay, so if you want to deploy, okay, an application in virtual machine skill set, remember I told you what a virtual machine skill set, it helps you in case the traffic is too much, so that instead of your application being in one computer, you have like many computers where your application is hosted in. Okay, so the traffic is not going to overwhelm your application. Okay, so now Azure is very powerful. Okay, I know that Azure can spin up an extra computer for you every 1 minute, up to 200. So just imagine you not using Azure, you're just using just one computer to host your application. Okay, now you're using Azure every minute, and an instance with your application is being spun up. Virtual machine skill set, like I told you, yeah, you understand what it does already. So now, so if you have this instance, to withstand high traffic, okay, how do you put your application inside those instances? Number one, you can so in 204, let me not talk too much, but yeah, you can deploy it manually. You can use Azure Resource Manager template. You can use Azure DevOps. You can use Azure Container Service, and you can use Azure Kubernetes Service. Okay, so I hope that so let's move forward. Okay, so when do you select a virtual machine skill set? Okay, when do you need to use the virtual machine skill set? So virtual machine. So you must have, you can directly build your virtual machine skill set from your virtual machine. Okay, so it's to run and scale your application. So I'm just going to pick, I'm just going to pick a few things and we'll run with them. Okay, so if already explained all this. So when you need to add VM instance for changing workload, what that means, the traffic is too much, traffic is coming from, and you don't want your application to crash, you don't want whatever you're doing to be stopped. Virtual machine skill set. So you can you can use a manual process to create, configure, and so we saw that earlier. So when you need to distribute work, so actually we've talked about all these things. So I think I want to move. So because one way or the other, I've explained this. Yes. So the next thing when you hear the word batch. So I like this topic because it really is building on your AZ900. Yeah, you're still a little bit confused. I think that you should go back to the fundamentals, get an idea for those things, then come back and you should. Yes. So when do you use batch? Okay, what is batch? Intensive work. So okay, let me use we are Nigerians here. Okay, so when you work, you need to use compute intensive, and they are compute intensive. So you want to dynamically adjust resources without you don't want everything for you to do, so that you would be able to manage those work without Azure Batch can install application that you want to run and schedule jobs to run on the compute node. What is a node? Don't get confused. So I'd like you to have this at the back of your mind. Azure Batch is when you have compute intensive. You need high performance computers for your job. That's when you use Azure Batch. Diagram here to break down the workflow of Azure Batch. So assuming that you have something in Azure storage, okay, so you task. So we have job task and we have some computers. So you see that it is moving down from the storage, because you like I told you earlier on, if you have a virtual machine, you need to attach storage to it, because your work that you're doing needs to, because when you spin up a virtual machine, it comes with only the operating system storage. You need to attach another disk for your work to be done. So we have Azure storage, assuming then we have the to run. Okay, so you have the computers that the task will be dropped into. So you can see that from the first, your input and files. Okay, you see number two is you upload them. So number three from Azure storage. Number four, you are monitoring. Okay, number five, you are. Number six, you can download. So it's actually not too difficult. It's actually straightforward. Okay, so let's move forward. So the nodes and you have the jobs. So for batch work, you must have polls, you must have nodes, you must have jobs. So what does job do? It's the job. Okay, monitors and logs activity. What are nodes? Okay, nodes are multiple computers. So as you can see, a node is just a computer, the right size, okay, and the right machine. So a pool is a pool dynamically allocates job and the right size and all that. So I hope that is not daunting. I hope that you got it. Drop comment in the comment section, and I think I'll be able to tackle it again. Okay, I'll be able because we still have a lot to talk about. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is you want to design for app services. Now, before we go into app services, now, if you did, okay, I think in your AZ 900, you don't have too much. They talked a lot about app service. Okay, so if you've done 204 and you are here, you will not have too much issues with app service. But apps, I'll explain it for you. App service is the platform as a service solution that Microsoft provides for you for running your web application. So if you have web apps, okay, so Microsoft has that app service solution for you that you should come and use. So now, if you want to pay for app service, okay, that you're actually paying for, okay, app service comes as a package, okay, because you need to choose an app service plan. Okay, so now, what are those things that number one, virtual machine is going to be there, storage is going to be there, resources is going to be there, your custom domain, if need be, your backups. So when you pay for that app service plan, it comes with everything. Do your job. Okay, so I think it's just like let me give you a simple scenario of it. So it's just like you going to you change. You need to we use prepaid meter in Abuja here, so you need to go and buy light units. You've reloaded your light units in your meter. Okay, it does not discriminate if you want to charge a fan, you want to charge your laptop. No, it does everything for you. So an app service plan comes with a package for you to work with. Move forward, and I hope that is clear. Okay, when you pay for app service, what do you what are you paying for? I hope that point is clear. So now you want to in app service deployment slots. Okay, you have what they call deployment slots. So as I say, a picture speaks 1,000 words. For deployment slots, deployment slots are featured in app service that allows you to deploy multiple versions of your app. Now, I'd like you to remember something, okay? There's this feature that we've been enjoying, okay, is WhatsApp reactions. WhatsApp reactions was not there before now. Before now, we had no WhatsApp reactions. Whether you like it or not, it was not there. Now, when WhatsApp came, okay, so sorry. So now, there was something before that, okay? So before it came, WhatsApp needed to, WhatsApp probably chose a certain number of people, maybe 500 people or 10,000 people, depending on the total traffic. It chose a number of people to test that feature, and they were using that feature on their own WhatsApp before it was eventually rolled out to all of us to use. Okay, so that's typical scenario. So when those people finished testing it and they saw no issues, they added it together with what we have, and they introduced it to all of us as as WhatsApp feature. I don't know if you're getting my point. Okay, so it's like you have WhatsApp without WhatsApp reaction. Okay, WhatsApp reaction is a new feature in WhatsApp that we've been enjoying for months now. Okay, so when WhatsApp decided to WhatsApp decided to give it to Meta, decided to give us that reaction as a feature. They have the old WhatsApp, app, okay, and they have this new one. So in Azure, assuming Meta or WhatsApp was using Azure, what they will use is deployment slots. They will take that one with reaction, okay, they will put it in a slot, okay, and they will direct a certain number of traffic to it so that they will test it. Okay, so when that certain number of traffic, okay, is okay with it, they will add it to the original one. So deal with the certain number of traffic, maybe 20%, 15%, 30%. They are not complaining. Man, this new feature is great. Then they now add it to production so that everyone can use it. So that's what a deployment slot would typically do for you. So we can use it for testing in production. We can use it for zero downtime deployment. We can use it for rollback, A and B testing, staging, and production environment. So I hope that is clear. So let's quickly move on. So now, some few questions, okay? When you're talking about app service, okay? So now, many developers have difficulties implementing authentication and authorization, okay? Because like I told you earlier, app service will come with everything you need to work with your app because it's a platform as a service solution. So can app service provide you what kind of service can you get for authentication and authorization? So there are so many, okay? But I think I'm just going to focus on two. Okay, now you have the Azure Active Directory authentication. So you can use Active Directory to authenticate your users with their corporate credentials and authorize them access. So you have so many. You can use social identity, you can use token, you can use .NET, you can use API management. Okay, so authenticating is not a problem when you're using app service. Microsoft has made it easy. Now, so when to use web app service, okay? So assuming that you have, so I think this is just Azure App Service, an HTTP-based service that lets you to build and host web apps. So I think this is just a summary of all that we've been saying. So we can use it with web app, background jobs, mobile backend, REST API, okay? So it's just a summary of all that we've been saying. Okay, we can use it. You can use the programming language of your choice. It has automatic scaling and high availability. Okay, so you can deploy using GitHub, Azure DevOps, and other services. So it's just a summary of all I've said before. So it's a platform as a service solution that Microsoft has given for web apps. Okay, so I hope it's flexible. It has high availability with it. It has automatic scaling compared to virtual machine scale set. This one scales automatically. It has high availability built in for it. So it's assuming something happens, your app is not going to go off like what MTN did. They went off for 6 hours. That is not going to happen if they use Azure App Service, because there will be it has automatic high availability. Scaling means that if they need if the customers of MTN increase to maybe 10 million, okay, Azure will make sure that there are instances enough to withstand the number of traffic trying to access your application, assuming that you host it using this service. So it's so flexible, it's so cool, and yeah, it's something that so if you're here and you're going to attend, like in my own company, Mondays we sit and we have these meetings to discuss. So if your company is having this decision of what kind of service to use, if they're deciding to move to the cloud, I think that Azure App Service will be a very good one, because as you can see, it has all this flexibility. You can choose your language. It has all this automatic scaling, and yeah, you can put the app through various sources. Okay, GitHub, Azure DevOps, and yeah, the ones I've showed you earlier. So let's move on. Okay, so other consideration for app service. Plus points, okay? You can determine, yeah, we talked about app service plan. So you can determine the appropriate app service plan. So I told you earlier what comes with an app service plan, okay? It comes with everything, your virtual machine and everything. I showed you in an earlier slide, okay? So we can use app service deployment slot for continuous deployment, okay? So you can use your mobile apps to build a backend for iOS and Android apps. So it has built-in authenticate. Yeah, I explained that earlier as well. You can use it for REST API based web apps. You can use WebJob to run a program or a script. So yes. So we've just gone through a high-level overview of web, Azure App Service. So if you have any question, I'd like you to drop it in the comment section, and I'm going to deal with it accordingly. But at this particular point, let's talk about Azure Container Instances. Okay. Now, what is Azure Container Instance? So Azure Container Instance will offer you the fastest and the simplest way to run a container in Azure. So now, Azure is not stingy. Azure's, oh yeah, you want to run a container? We don't want you to use Docker. Yeah, come and use Azure Container Instance. So I think it's not bad. Okay, because every other cloud provider, they have their own specific solution. So I think it's right for Azure to have something for Azure lovers and Azure users. Okay, so if you want to run a container for Azure, the specific service is Azure Container Instance. So it ensures the integrity of your images throughout the lifecycle. It helps you to monitor your resource, and yeah, you can have what they call container group. So this is still the same image that we saw at the beginning of the lecture. So on this particular one, we are focused on Azure Container Instance. Okay. So you want to talk about containers in Azure. You want to compare it to Docker. Yeah, what we have in Azure is Azure Container Instance. So when to use Azure Container Instance. Okay, so Azure Container Instance are a fast and simple way to run a container on Azure. So you want to run a container using Azure, yeah, use Azure Container Instance. Don't use any other one, okay? Because it has been optimized for Azure. It belongs to Azure, and it should work. It should work better and faster because it has, all the support and everything you need to work with the platform. So it's fast and easy to use. You can use it for testing and development. You can use it for short-lived processes. It can be used for AKS workflow. AKS is Azure Kubernetes Service. So, but the only downside of it, it doesn't scale, okay? And it's not designed for microservices. Hope that is clear. Let's move on. Okay, so this is just a little diagram to compare containers to virtual machine. Okay, so Containers are lightweight from virtual machines are heavy. Containers, like, they have lightweight isolation from the host, and other containers. So now virtual machines they have complete isolation, strong security boundaries from host and other virtual machines. The operating system, so a container can run the user mode portion of an operating system. Now virtual machine, this is what I don't like about them. They can run your complete your operating system, but containers are lighter than if you're running a virtual machine on your computer, it's actually taking the power of your computer. But a container is light. It has everything that your application will need to survive. So for deploying of containers, we can deploy using Docker. For virtual machine, you can deploy in the cloud or on premise or in the portal, whichever way you want to do. But it's actually easier to work with containers than virtual machine. So for the storage, for the storage, you can use Azure Disk or File Share. Now for storage for virtual machine, you can use virtual disk or file share as well. For fault tolerance, if a cluster node fails, any container running are rapidly recreated, which is one of the things that that makes containers and Kubernetes popular, because your node is failing, it can actually be recreated without any issues. But for virtual machine, VMs can fail over to another server in a cluster with the VM operating system restarting on a new server. So I hope that this is clear. Let's quickly move into let's look at Kubernetes service itself. Now, before we go on, I want to ask a quick question. So who manages your AKS cluster? The answer is there. It's not something I'm asking you anyways. I'm just telling you. So who manages your AKS cluster? Azure is responsible for managing your Azure Kubernetes Service cluster infrastructure. You are only paying for the nodes that you're using to run your workload. So you're responsible for managing the container and the application. Yeah, the nodes that your application is running on, that's what you are responsible for. But the control plane itself, what is managing the AKS cluster is the control plane. So Azure is responsible for the control plane. So you are responsible for the agent node, the worker nodes that your application are relying on. But the thing that is controlling your application, your worker nodes, Azure is the one that is responsible for them. So let's move ahead and see what else we have. So what do you pay for as an AKS user? Yeah, like I told you earlier on, you're paying for the worker nodes and everything. So this is a little bit clumped up, but the summary of it all is you're paying for the things that you're using, your virtual machines, your Kubernetes management, your storage, your containers. The cost of using AKS will depend on the specific resource that you use and the configuration of your cluster. So easy. Azure has made it easy for us. You go to your calculator. You can actually calculate what you're paying for easily. So in every major project I embark on, the pricing calculator has always been a saver. So if you're going to be like me in the future, you're having these projects and you need to talk about them, you need to be sure about how much before attending a meeting. So if you after this program, you can just go to the pricing calculator and see. But in summary, what you're paying for is the agent nodes. Microsoft is the one paying for the nodes that are controlling the agents. So the control plane, Microsoft pays. So let's continue. So Azure Kubernetes Service orchestrates your containerized application. So how does it do that? So probably plus points. So let's look at the plus points. So you have enterprise scalability, automatic cluster node, and pod scaling. So you have granular network control, you have cluster node upgrade, you have storage volume support, ingress with HTTP application routing support, private container registry support. So these are actually plus point. So you make self-healing, dynamic scaling, dynamic scaling, rolling updates and all that. So yes, it's optimized for Azure. So you have a lot of gains if you use Azure Kubernetes Service. So, but I'd like you to know that every cloud platform, they have their own kind of Kubernetes service. So this is Azure. So you cannot be using Azure and yeah, it will not make sense for you to be using Azure and want to go and use that of GCP or that of Amazon. So this is actually good for us as Azure users because, you know, and we have a lot of plus points and support from Microsoft. So let's move ahead and see what other what other thing that we have. So how do you design a highly available container solutions? Okay, now we talk about availability, we talk about region pair, we talk about service availability. So street, these are actually general concepts from your AZ900. Okay, so okay, this is what I'd like you to do. Okay, now anytime you hear availability, high availability, what is high availability? I explained to you what happened with MTN, and they went up for 6 hours, and I gave you what they could have done to stop it. So these are just general ideas. Okay, so if you use region availability, you save it in a region. Okay, a region will have, you know, 1 or 2 data centers. You know, we'll have data set about a region will have availability zones. Okay, and our availability zone will have 1 or 2 data centers. So there's no how that 1 or 2 data center connected together with low latency fiber. So there's no how you save your workload in a region, okay, that has about 3 availability zones. And remember, an availability zone will have 1 or 2 data center. So it's like you're saving your work in multiple places. In case there's any problem, you can easily, you know, pick up from there. So what is the region pair? So remember what a region I just told you about. Just imagine if the region is in pair. Region is having availability zones. Okay, availability zones 1 or 2 or 3, mostly 3, and availability zones has, you know, about 1 or 2 data centers. So you are sure that your app will not die, because if anything happens, they check this availability zone. If they check this other zone, they check this other zone, you should have multiple copies running over there. So just imagine that scenario I just played out for you. You have 2 regions. Okay, your services are failing over, being placed in another region. I'm talking about region pair now. Being placed in another region. In case this region is, all the zones there are having problem, you have it and in another region. So the concept of region availability, we will look at. You remember US East, US West. You know, that's just kind of the scenario of region availability. Now, 2 ways to synchronize your storage. Infrastructure-based asynchronous replication. Okay, now application synchronous replication. So you can see from the screen, it's been saved cluster A, cluster B. You know, all this is just to make sure that you do not lose your work. Your work is saved in 2 different places. In case of any issues, you can easily grab another copy, and yeah, it's going to be available. Okay. I think that we are almost coming to the end of the lecture. So the next, we're designing function, Azure Function. Yeah, Azure Function. Now, Azure Function is a serverless application platform for compute on demand. Okay, so yeah, so it implements your system logic, readily available for block of codes. Okay, it supports microservice design, it promotes code reuse, it's scalable, and it's event driven. So I'd like you to remember how it was in your early starter models. So it's event driven. Something must happen before the code is pushed, and so it's apps. Azure functions are actually very good because they help you to save money. It's only when something triggers, an event happens, okay, your code is triggered, and you as a businessman, that's when it's only then your code runs, and it's only then that you pay. Okay, so just imagine you just bring in your code, you're not worrying about your infrastructures, and your code is just there. If something triggers your code to run, that's when you would pay, compared to when you have to host virtual machines for 365 days. Even if you're doing something, you're not doing something, you still have to pay. But for this one, only when your code is running that you pay. Okay, so it's actually there are so many plus points of it, and the plus point is what we have on the left side. Okay, so let's move on. So considerations for Azure Functions. Okay, so Azure Functions are best when handling specific definable actions that are triggered by an event. Okay, so they avoid long-running functions. They know when to use durable functions. They organize your function for high performance and scaling. They help you with defensive functions. So you can see that it's all still what we're saying. It's only when events are pushing them to occur that they will run. So it's cool. So like for the diagram on the right, you see an HTTP call from a mobile phone. Okay, so that call will be processed. Okay, the output gets stored in Cosmos DB. It transfers, triggers second functions, and that's when a notification will be sent to Event Hub. So something must happen before your code will push, and before before it will run. So it's actually very fun and very useful. Let's move on. Let's quickly look at Logic App. If you're designing a Logic App, what are the things that you're going to consider? No. So when are you going to use Logic App? Azure Logic App is a cloud-based platform, okay, for creating and running workflows. So I'd like you to think about the previous one we just talked about. I'd like you to think about it as events, okay? So it's event-driven. You talk about it whenever events. It is event-driven, meaning something must happen before it runs, okay? But for this one, I like you to have it at the back of your mind that think of workflow. Think of that one as event. Think of this one as workflow, okay? Workflow. Okay, so now let's look at the plus point and whatever thing that we have on the diagram. So it helps you to send notification using, you can send email notification using Office 365, okay, when a specific event happens, okay? So now you can use it to route and process customer order across, a premise system and cloud services. You can use it to move files from an HTTP server to storage. You can use it to monitor tweets, analyze sentiments, and create alerts, tasks for item that needs review. So when you're thinking about workflow, the process of something that happens, you think about it, okay? Those are useful points. Okay, so let's look at the diagram. You start, you start. Do you need to integrate multiple apps? If it's yes, it goes. If it's no, you investigate why. Other options. Okay, now, do you need to require real-time performance? So you can see that the diagram is just a workflow. Okay, now, if you're still a little bit confused about what a workflow is, let me give you a simple explanation. Remember the last time you ordered something from Konga or Jumia, or maybe Amazon, okay? You ordered from Amazon and they decided to ship, okay? At each point in time, okay, you'll be shown the place, like for example, I like using RMX. RMX will show me, okay, it has been shipped to, it has left New York office, it is in Dubai, it has left Dubai, it has gone to Lagos, it has left Lagos. Okay, maybe custom is holding it. I should come and pay. Have I paid? If I paid, yes, it moves to Abuja. Okay, yes. There's a guy in the office. I have his number. It's Stefanos. It has been given to Stefanos. I've paid, okay? The package has been assigned to Stefanos as my dispatch person. Okay. Now on the app I have on my phone, Stefanos is moving to your area. I will see him with his dispatch bike moving. Oh, if it so it shows the workflow of that package from New York even to my house. So that's how Azure Logic App works. It's showing you, did you need to integrate multiple systems? Yes, so just like the other one that says, have you paid? Yes, I've paid. Now, Stefanos will carry it to my house. I've not paid. Means I will hold it. Did I pay my custom? Because if you buy something from the US, that is above, from my experience with buying using from Amazon using RMX, if it's above $100, you need to pay for custom fees. Okay, so this is actually clear from the little explanation I just gave. So if you think of workflow and process of things, you think of a Logic App. So if you think of events, something must happen before something happens, you think of Azure Function. So I hope that this is clear. I'm just going to move on and see what we have again. So how are Logic Apps different from Azure Functions? So, okay, I'm just going to look at the first one. So development, it compares development, designer first, and code first, and the method. So the first one is method. Okay, so now it creates orchestration. Logic App will create orchestration by using a GUI or editing configuration file. So it will use what you can see on the screen, okay? Like the other thing I showed you just now, okay? We show you what you can use on the screen. Oh, it has moved from here to here, yes or no, but durable functions, you need to write code and use durable function extension. So I'm not going to explain what a durable function extension is, because that's a 204 part. So let me not confuse you, but let's just stay in here. For connectivity, you have larger collection of, there are a lot of connectors, okay? So you want to connect, there are a lot of things that you can use to connect. So you have B2B pack, you have custom connectors. So for durable functions, you have large scale inbuilt binding types. So this has to do with coding. So if, yeah, like I told you earlier, if you want to know deep about this, you need to do 204. It's comprehensive in there. So for monitoring, you can use Azure Portal for monitoring your Logic apps, okay? You can use Azure Monitor Log. But for durable functions, you need to use Application Insights. So I hope that is clear. Yeah, let's move on. Yes, I think that this is the last slide. Okay, so now product and scenario review. So we've talked about virtual machines, we've talked about app service, we've talked about container instances, we've talked about Azure Kubernetes Service, we've talked about Azure Functions and Logic App. Now, use case. Yes, so we are supposed to merge this. Well, so which one do we need if we're, oh yeah, this is an exercise. So I need you guys to yeah, the chat window if you want to participate in this, I want the answers in the chat window, okay? So if you want to perform high performance computing, like we said, I'm just going to give two and we're going to move on, okay? So my container orchestration, I'm going to use, yeah, Kubernetes service, okay? Full work over changing workload. So I'm not going to tell you the answer. So for high performance computing, yeah, let me check the chat window so that I'll be fair. Okay, so no one is typing anything. But anyways, guys, I think this is the last slide. Yeah, we've talked enough. I'm going to end the lecture here. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you. I'll see you in the cloud.
Wow. Thank you very much, Mr. Raphael. That was great. I think in this chat session, there's a response. If you check from the question.
Okay, yeah, there's a response. Thank you, Haruna Ismail Oriyomi. But I'd like to say something before I end. Okay, I think that the module is not difficult. Okay, it's just still the same things that you know before. Okay, so if you're confused in any way, I think that you should go to your fundamentals. Okay, because it just like added little things on the fundamentals from your, yeah, I'm not going to even talk about 104 from your AZ900. Okay, this is good. He's giving more solution. Thank you, Haruna. So Haruna, what I'd like you to do, take a screenshot of the slide. It can help your revision. Okay, so take a screenshot of the slide. It can help your revision when you get home. So it will help you revise what this will do. So thank you very much, Tosin. I'm gonna be yeah, the lecture have ended. I hope that yeah, you have me again. Yes, thank you. I'll pass the baton over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time in the Azure Study series to be able to continue in our learning for AZ35. So, and thank you for those that were able to join and those that will be watching live. So thank you, everyone, and see you next week for the continuation of our training. Thank you all, and bye.